Hey everybody. So for your final project, which we haven't started yet and haven't given you all the information about yet, so don't worry about that right now. But for your final project, you are going to have to create a manual for your rocket. And in that manual, you're going to have to include a 3D design or diagram of your model rocket. So today I'm going to show you how to make a basic model rocket using this website, TinkerCAD. If you've used this website before, you can click on Sign In. If you haven't used it before, then you're going to click Join Now. I've used it before, so I'm going to click Sign In. You're going to go to Sign In with Google. You're going to choose your school account. And then it'll take you to the TinkerCAD homepage. Now that you're here, you're going to create a project over here on the left. It's automatically going to be named Project 1. I'm going to rename it I'm going to rename it Rocket Design Tutorial. Now within this project, I can have multiple different designs. So I'm going to go to Create 3D Design, and this will allow me to create my first design. TinkerCAD is going to automatically name it something weird like this. So I'm going to go into the properties of this design and rename it Rocket Design Number 1. I'm also going to make it public. This way, if you want to share your design with someone else, they will be able to do so without having to log into your account. Then I'm going to click Save Changes. Okay, so now my design is called Rocket Design Number 1, and I'm ready to start building. This is the work plane of your 3D TinkerCAD design space. Over here on the right, you can see a number of different shapes that you could choose to add to this space. There's other options in this drop-down menu as well, but we're just going to work with basic shapes today. This stuff on the left here allows me to change my viewpoint. So for example, if I put this sphere here in the plane, I could move my perspective using this button, so I can look at it from all different angles. And then when I'm finished and I want to go back to that original home view, I just click the little house. Okay. I can also zoom in. There's buttons here to do so, or depending on your computer, you could use the touchpad like I'm doing right now to get a better view. Okay. So that is how you look at objects in TinkerCAD. Now I don't actually want a sphere, so I'm going to just click my backspace and then it will disappear. So to make a model rocket, I would suggest starting with a cylinder. The first thing that you're going to want to do is set the measurements of your cylinder. So you can see in this square, if I hover my mouse over the white corners, it'll allow me to change the height and the width of my cylinder. So right now it's set at 20 millimeters. I want to expand that a little bit bigger, so let's say 30 millimeters. And we're going to have to get to 30 both in the width and in the depth so that I have a circle instead of an oval base. Okay, so now I'm at 30 by 30 for the base of the cylinder. The height is currently set to 20 millimeters. That's pretty short, so let's make it taller. Let's lift this and drag it up until we're at, let's say, 80 millimeters. Great. Okay, so here's the body of my rocket. I can move it around the plane however I want. I can zoom out and zoom in. Looks awesome. Okay. All right, so the next thing that you're going to need to add to your rocket is a nose cone. Now, depending on how you design your rocket, you might want a pointy nose cone like this one. You might want a spherical nose cone like that. Or another great option would be this paraboloid nose cone. But notice that if I just drag the paraboloid into the work plane and try to put it on top of the sphere, the program thinks I'm trying to put the nose cone behind the cylinder. So that's not going to work. I'm going to delete this so I can fix the problem. What I need to do is I need to take my work plane here and move it from underneath the cylinder to on top of it. That'll allow me to place objects on top of the cylinder. So in order to do that, I'm going to go over here to the right hand side and click work plane, and it'll give me this little blue square you see floating around. I'm going to put that blue square right here on top of the cylinder. Now my plane of reference is based on the top of the cylinder. So if I drag and drop the paraboloid, it'll go right on top as opposed to behind the cylinder. Alright, so the next problem I need to solve is the fact that my paraboloid is not quite as big as the cylinder. So just like with the cylinder, you just have to drag the edges until they are the correct measurements. And I want it to be 30 by 30. So almost there. Okay, there we are. So now my base of my nose cone is the same width as the cylinder. However, I need to make sure that from all angles, it's actually sitting on the cylinder and it's not floating. So I'm just going to turn around and take a look at how this is sitting, and it looks like I did this correctly because it's not floating. So good job, me. Okay, so once I have my nose cone situated on my cylinder, I want to combine them together. That way, if I want to move this nose cone and the rocket body at the same time, they'll be attached. So in order to do that, I'm going to highlight both shapes like this, and then I'm going to click this button up here. It's called Group. When you do that, the program will group the two shapes together, and then if I needed to move my rocket around, the nose cone and the body stay attached. Alright, so now I'm done adding a nose cone. I no longer need to have the work plane oriented like this. I'm going to put it back how it was before by clicking work plane and then putting my blue square on that blue border under there. And that'll drop my work plane back to its original state. Okay, I've got a body of a rocket, I've got a nose cone. The next thing I'm going to want to add are my fins. So the best shape to add fins, I think, is this wedge shape right here. As you can see, my wedge is not quite flat enough to be a fin, so let's adjust the measurements. Let's make it maybe 2 millimeters thick, and then I want it to be taller, so I want it to be maybe a little bit less than half the rocket height. So I'm going to set it at 37 millimeters tall. And I want it to stick out a little bit more, so yeah, let's put it at 27. Okay, so now I need to take this fin and I need to put it on the side of the rocket. So I'm going to change my view until that looks easier to do. This looks good. Okay, so from the side view, I'm going to slide that fin over until it seems to be touching the rocket. But I need to make sure that it's actually lined up. See, it's not from the previous orientation it looked lined up, but now I can see it's actually not. So I'm just going to keep moving around until I have made sure that the fin is touching the rocket body from all directions. And now it looks like I have successfully done that. Oh wait, let's look back at the top. Looks a little bit odd there. Let's move it. Okay, let me zoom in so I can grab it better. I need to move him over a little bit. There we go. Now we're at more about a 90-degree, kind of from the middle of the rocket body. Alrighty, so let's go back to home. I'm going to turn this guy around. Yep, my fin's on. Awesome. So what I would do from here is I would add the rest of my fins. Some rockets would have 3, some would have 4. And when I have it all oriented exactly the way I want it to be, I can group the items together again. So group. And now it's all attached and I can move that rocket around and its fins will stay connected. Okay, so as you can see, lots of different things that you can do with this program. This was just a really basic tutorial on how to make a simple looking rocket. So go ahead and experiment on your own, see what you can create. And later we can look at making them more complicated, but for now this is all I'm going to show you. All right, have fun, Happy TinkerCADing.